Welcome to OK Miniatures. Today we're going to be making some floor tiles. So to start out with, I chopped up a couple squares of XPS foam like normal. I chose 6x6 squares for this since the application I'm looking for is some wider platforms. In the future, if I got time, I will definitely chop up a few smaller ones to add some more modularity, but for now, sticking with the 6x6. I marked out 1/2-inch lines on two sides of the squares, the opposite sides, so that I could draw a nice straight line for planks. It's not critical that this line is super straight, but having it mostly straight makes it look more realistic. So I used the ruler to guide my knife when I did this. Once I had the long lines cut, I added some shorter lines to show different boards. If you wanted to, you could put these marks at 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch increments and kind of get a grid that way. Not cutting every board, but cutting like every other one at different increments to give a visual on those dimensions. But I personally do not really want a grid on my pieces, so I'm not going to do that. Then I went on to add some texture using a wire brush. Just running some of the straight bristles across the foam gives a really nice texture. Looks like the grain of wood. I applied this to all of the long sides of the boards. For the end grain areas, I took the bristles and basically stabbed them into the foam. This gives it a much pokier look, which is what end grain looks like. For the sides, I cut a thin line, or like a line slightly down below this top surface. This way it looks like there's a top board resting on like a joist or something like that. And then I transferred those to the other side, so that it looks like there's one board running along, two long boards with a short board in between, if that makes sense. It's a little bit complicated when I say it. It's not that complicated on the piece. After that, I went through with a pin and just poked little nail holes, and 2 on each end of each board. Alright, so here are my tiles, 2 of them. I got the texturing done, the nail holes in, they're all ready to be Mod Podged. So I'm gonna coat these guys with Mod Podge to seal it up, give it a little bit of extra durability, and then we'll be on to painting. Alright, so I got these guys Mod Podged. Once they're completely dry, I'm going to go in and paint it brown with a little bit of gray. A little bit of gray just to give it a little bit more of a wood look. Wood isn't usually the classic brown color, so throw in some gray to make it more realistic. Now that the painting's done, final step is to add a wash. I'm really happy with how the colors look, so I'm not looking to tint everything a bit darker or tone back the highlights, but I do want to add a wash to really draw attention to those nice lines, that texture that put in earlier with the wire brush. The wash will kind of pool in those areas and darken them and make that wood grain really stand out. Alright, so the wash is on. You may have noticed it's not quite dry yet, but I did end up carving a chomp mark out of one of these guys. That's just because I intend on adding it to my little cave setup, and I want to have like a little bit of a backstory for it, and this little bite adds to that. So if I was normally making this, I probably wouldn't put this in there for modular tiles, although I might consider putting a few holes in the middle if I was going for like a decrepit old wood floor. In that case, you might also want to add some moss or other decaying elements to the tile. For moss, I'd probably just tap on a little bit of green paint in a few spots, and I think that'd be pretty good. I did carve away the bottom foam. You probably can kind of see there's a cavity underneath here where I thinned it out, so that way these broken boards look more realistic. They aren't a full half-inch thick, they're only an eighth of an inch or so thick. That just makes it look more realistic. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this. And with that, I'll see you in the future.